Oh, those are the buttons.
Oh, okay.
Mitch, are those the buttons? I don't actually think those are the buttons. Can you imagine if we opened this up and it actually didn't have water?
Yeah,
we just got scammed.
What the hell are they talking about?
It's gotta be on the other side.
One of us is wanted!
Okay, so what you're saying then
You guys are
is we should have gone in from the street.
I don't know if we can. That might
Yeah,
be
actually.
Maybe take the battery connector off before we continue.
Yeah, we probably
Stay away,
should.
get back!
Oh, wait, is this a tab?
No.
No! Look at
Be
that!
careful, they'll bend it too much.
They thought of that.
Should we stick long proby things under here?
No, no plastic ones, please. Please. Oh, Jake. Okay.
I still don't see
Oh, I
any.
bent it pretty good.
Oh man.
We control most sectors on the
Awesome. Look at this. It's got like extra antenna mounting spots, like lots of them. Fingernails, the proper tool. That's what Louis Rossman told me. Yeah, it's
Wait,
like
they have
kind of.
rails?
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, it's like. It is.
Oh, that's the SIM
Oh,
tray.
the SIM tray.
We didn't take the SIM tray out. Oh, hey, look, there's the copper thingy.
That's it.
No, but wait, it probably goes underneath or something.
That's their water cooling.
I don't think we have all of it out of there yet. It's got to be thin. It's a phone. That's how that works.
Yeah.
They've taken
0.4 millimeters
sector.
thick.
0.4 millimeters. So basically, there's our SoC. Everything else has shields over it, so it's actually kind of hard to tell exactly where the storage is. If I had to guess, I would say NAND flash is probably under here, or DRAM looks about that size. But what we're after is the cooler. So you can see that's where they've got the thermal compound between, what again is presumably our SoC, and the water cooling station. What is it?
I don't think we're going to really get it out of there, but we can expose more of it.
Is that a fart?
Yes. Big enough for anything?
Beginning siege on Charlie 1.
The kids have gone to bed. We can get some serious work done around here.
Nice.
I feel entirely comfortable being ageist to you because you treat me exactly the same.
You know what? It's just because you're old, okay? Wow, he's doing it with metal. Yikes.
Is that it? That's the most we can expose? Like, can we take it apart more?
I mean, do we want to be able to put it back together, or you don't care?
Hostile force is still strong.
I don't know. I want to give the people what they came for.
we can cut it in half. What's inside?
To start, like, scratching at it. Linus rig everything.
Oh, wow.
Zach's a cool guy. I love what he does. He's just better at it than we are, so I'm gonna let him do the scratching. You know what? I don't even care because that. You know what? That's as deep as we're going because I want to flip this phone on eBay when we're done. So basically,
What is water cooling?
what is water cooling? This. Dude, do you want to go grab a prop for us? Do you want to go grab like a water cooler?
Oh, I was going to bring a heatsink.
No, Jake. You're not watching.
What?
No. Can you go get a water cooler?
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. He was gonna go get a
I kind of need the part, though.
Okay, so you want to
You know
crack
what?
that
You
open?
don't need a water cooling.
So basically what you're looking at here is, I think calling it a water cooler is a little disingenuous, but you actually could make the argument that it's a fluid cooler at the very least. Because what's happening is we've got a flat base, so that allows it to make optimal contact with whatever type of processor, whether it's a CPU, GPU, SoC, whatever type of processor you're trying to cool, and then right under it, and it really is actually very impressive how thin they've managed to make this this kind of tube shaped. You might say it's kind of like a pipe
Yeah, it
that
goes down to like.
helps with the heat, you know? And also this aluminum heatsink that it's embedded in. It's really, really impressive how thin it is. But what it is a heat pipe. So it's actually the exact same technology that you would find in what we would traditionally describe as an air cooler. Sorry, I mean water cooler. I'm gonna start calling them fluid coolers. And the reason I'm gonna call them that is because the way a heat pipe works is right here. Okay, so first of all, the inside of them is usually at very low pressure, like near vacuum. And then in the factory, you'll always notice at one end of a heat pipe, you're gonna have a nice clean termination. See that? And then at the other end, you've got kind of this mess where it was crimped off and sealed. So that's because these are at very, very low pressure. So the low pressure affects both the boiling point of the fluid inside and the condensation point. So what happens is here at the heat source, even though the difference in temperature between here and here, the fluid, because remember, both liquids and gases are fluids, the fluid will boil, which will cause it to go to the end of the tube, and then over at the end of the tube, where there's a fan blowing air through it to cool it, or your hand, which is effectively kind of like liquid cooling the phone, like because your blood is pumping, your blood is liquid anyway.
Process. Kind of like an AIO.
Yes, so the point is that at the other end, where that fluid is then being cooled, it turns back into a liquid, and then there is usually on the inside either sintering or like some kind of wicking texture to the inside of the heat pipe that causes that liquid to wick back to the point where it's heated up again. So you end up with this kind of this
Echo
flow.
sector has fallen to our attack.
So is it water cooling?
50% strength.
Not in the way that we would traditionally define water cooling, because we've typically referred to this as heat pipe air cooling, but there is fluid involved, and in some cases heat pipes are actually filled with a fluid that is either completely or mostly water, so it's possible it's water cooled. But I'm gonna call it fluid cooling from now on.
To be fair, they do say water.
Do they really?
Water is in
It's in
quotations.
quotes?
Only water. Maybe they're like, that's fine, right?
The Kensington Microsoft Surface Pro docking station was exclusively designed for Microsoft's proprietary Kinect technology for a seamless dock and charge experience. Its articulating hinge allows you to tilt, raise, or lay flat for comfortable use in any position. It's got 4K output support with HDMI and DisplayPort that allows dual or single monitor use. It's got 5 USB ports, 4 of which are USB 3 and 1 USB Type-C, and it comes with the optional free Kensington DockWorks software, an optional lock module to keep your workstation secure, and is plug and play so you don't have to worry about downloading drivers. Learn more by clicking the link below. Thanks for coming along on this fun little adventure with us. If you guys disliked this video, you can hit that button, but if you liked it, hit like, get subscribed, or maybe consider checking out where to buy the stuff we featured at the link in the video description. I'm not giving it a real strong recommendation. I'd get a Pocophone F1 if I had $300 to $400 to spend, but anyway. Also down there is our merch store, which has cool shirts like this one, and our community forum, which you should totally join.
LinusTechTips.com.
It's a real Jake level effort right there. If you're an avid mobile gamer, I can pretty much guarantee that no matter what device you have, you've encountered thermal throttling of some sort in the past. That is to say that you fire up some game you like, and after 10, 15, or 20 minutes of gaming, you notice a significant performance drop. Now, on a full-size PC, we have all kinds of solutions for these sorts of problems. Big heat sinks or water coolers with giant external radiators. But on a phone, you're pretty much limited to what you got here. Or are you? So we found this on AliExpress, and it is exactly what it appears to be. A water cooler designed for use with a mobile phone. So let's take this thing for a test drive and see if it actually solves the problem. And this video is brought to you by Pulseway. With Pulseway, you can remotely monitor, manage, and control all your Windows, Mac, and Linux machines from one app. Create your free account today at the link in the video description.
An objective will come under our
So if we want to know if our solution is going to be effective, the first thing we need to do is determine if there's an actual problem that needs to be solved in the first place. So, I've got a Galaxy S10 Plus with a Snapdragon 855 processor in here, and you can see that it's been sitting idle for quite some time. Our processor's running at 30 degrees Celsius, which is a nice, comfortable temperature for it. So we're gonna go ahead and close down CPU monitor, and we're gonna fire up GFX Bench. Some tests are now temporarily disabled. Well, that's the kind of day this is gonna be, I suppose. We're gonna be switching over to 3D Mark Slingshot Extreme. So let's go ahead and run our benchmark for the first time. Okay, we got our first results, 5569, 4762. We're gonna check our CPU temps real quick here, 52 degrees, and then we're gonna go ahead and start it again. Now, one of the keys is to make sure that we're doing our subsequent runs as rapidly as possible so we're not giving the device a chance to cool down. If you think about it, while you're gaming, it's not gonna have that opportunity, so that makes it a much more realistic test. Now, I'm gonna need to run these tests a few more times in order to plot out my throttling curve where I look at the performance decrease over time. But in the meantime, for your guys' entertainment, we can have a look at the various phone water cooling solutions that showed up in the mail. So this one seems to be the one that's most optimized for gaming, because you can see here, it's designed to sit on the back of the phone like this, so that you can comfortably hold your phone in landscape mode with the water tubes connected to the bottom of the device, like so. It includes a thermal pad, one that doesn't appear to be adhesive in any way, and a bunch of zip ties. This one kind of bewildered me. Now, there are certainly things that I could think of to do with the zip ties. Secure tubing to the fittings, strap the cooler to the back of the phone. I'm just not sure what their intention was exactly. Now let's put this one aside and have a look at our next candidate. This one really didn't ship with much in the way of accessories, and it's a bit of a simpler design overall. So they've got a thicker, it kind of looks like a heat pipe that isn't sealed, but it's hard to tell if the inside is sintered like a heat pipe would be. So it could just be a copper tube, but it's got a simpler loop, so just a U instead of zigzagging back and forth, which might interfere with thermal transfer. But like this one, it appears to be soldered onto a thin copper plate, has no protective covering, and obviously is not designed to be used as easily in landscape mode, because if you were to put it on like this, you'd have tubing sticking out kind of between your fingers off the back of the phone. Curiously, this one included 2 thermal pads. Not because I think they expect you to use both of them at the same time, but rather because I think they expect you might lose one and you might not be the sort of person who just has thermal pad material lying around. Finally, behind door number 3 is our smallest cooler yet, but actually the one with the largest copper tube. So this would make this one likely the least restrictive one, but it's also the one that's going to make the least amount of actual physical contact with our phone. One good thing about this design, I guess, is that it could be used in either orientation. Oh, it's done. Okay, 5068 and 4277. Actually, it looks like we got a little bit of throttling already. Let's check our CPU temps. We're up at 65 degrees this time. Bippity boppity, go again, please. So that's great then. We've already lost 10% of our performance after less than 10 minutes of running an intensive application. Maybe there's something to this after all. So I had to go on Coolison's AliExpress page to figure this out. I'll admit it, I had to read the manual. But apparently what they expect you to do is take your thermal pad, peel off the protective cover, put it inside a phone case, and then take this thing and put it in here, and then like drill out holes in your case or something for the water cooling tubes. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're just gonna grab some packing tape and strap this to the back of it for testing purposes, but there you go. For those of you who are curious, that's the answer. Now that we've got that figured out, we can go ahead and take a look at some of the other things that we need. The manufacturer of this very clearly points out that this alone is not enough to help with thermal throttling. Now, you might actually delay the throttling because just adding some mass to the back of the phone that can absorb heat is going to cause it to heat up a little slower. But you still have to dissipate it, and this hunk of copper doesn't have a ton more surface area than the back of the device itself. So we need some kind of way to circulate the water. So here's some tubing, a pump, and a reservoir. And we need some way to dissipate the heat. So I grabbed this radiator from like an ancient build that I did like 10 years ago, and we're gonna hook that bad boy up to it. Now that is a lot more surface area than the back of the phone. So now things are getting really interesting. Our third OpenGL test didn't drop much compared to our second one, but our third Vulkan test is now only 75% of the performance of our original score. That means that we've actually moved beyond the point of differences that you can measure with benchmarks but that don't matter in the real world, to the point where the animations are noticeably choppier now than when we first started our investigation. Now let's talk about how we're configuring our cooling system. In a PC, you'd be using tubing and fittings that has like great big inner diameters so that you can get tons and tons of water flow. But as you can see, with our phone coolers, we're going to be limited by the most restrictive items in our loop anyway, and these are as small as 4 millimeters in outer diameter.